Now there will be a short film for the session. To begin the session, I would now like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Puri, President-designate CII, to give his opening remarks and take the session forward.
Your Excellency, Mr. Salman Rahman, MP, Private Industry Investment Advisor to Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and co-founder and vice chairman, Beximo Group. Mr. Tatsuya Watanabe, President, Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, Indonesia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm delighted to welcome all of you to this very important session today, and it's a privilege for me to welcome and acknowledge the presence of His Excellency Mr. Salman Rahman. Excellency, it was a privilege to have you also at the CII Global Policy Forum 2023 in December, and your insights were very well appreciated, and some of the comments that you made still resonate back with us. I also extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Tatsuya Watanabe, President of Economic Research Institute for ASEAN, East Asia, Indonesia. Your expertise and contributions to the field of economic research have been invaluable, and your participation in the CII Economic Policy Forum last year was instrumental in shaping our discussion. As we work towards India becoming a developed economy in 2047, this summit plays an important role in charting the way forward. And an integral part of this, as we evaluate the perspectives and opportunities in Indian industry, it's also an opportune time to discuss some of the common challenges that Global South faces. Global South faces quite a few common challenges, which include the issues of poverty, climate change, acceleration of economic progress, rural development, amongst others. So in this context, I think this session holds immense promise so that we can discuss and engage in discussions based on experiences in Bangladesh, which has made tremendous progress, and experiences in the ASEAN countries to understand the potential complexities and challenges of this progress. Some of the issues that could well be debated, considering that these region represents a very, very large component of global economy, would be areas of equipping the workforce with necessary skills for the sunrise sectors, the technologies of tomorrow, and also adapting to the skills of tomorrow and dealing with transition skills. I think the other opportunity is really for countries, so be it governments, be it businesses, how to partner and collaborate in this whole journey of transformation, in the journey of empowering the population at large and creating inclusive growth. The third opportunity to look at is the area about bridging digital divide, promoting financial inclusion, and enhancing the women participation in the work in industries and in services through better access to education and healthcare. We also need to establish resilient infrastructure. These are economies where infrastructure for the future is also getting built. There is, of course, existing infrastructure. How do we make that resilient? How do we make our agri-value chains resilient? And there is opportunity for greater collaboration in trade and investments. Energy transition, sustainability are subjects that the whole world is grappling with. Global South is, I think, particularly challenged because not only does Global South need to invest for growth, we also need to invest for transition. And it's not merely the capex cost, it's also the social cost of transition. That puts a double load. So what are the examples and learnings that can be shared, and what technologies can be developed to facilitate this transition? So I do believe that there is a lot that everybody can benefit in the Global South by sharing examples, forging partnerships on technology, and collaborating on real work. There's a lot to be done, and that's the area that we would like to explore in this session. And considering the immense experience and progress that's been made in Bangladesh and in the ASEAN region, I think we're really looking forward to hearing the perspectives of our very esteemed, eminent speakers today. So to start off the discussion and for his address, may I first request His Excellency, Mr. Salman Rahman.
Ladies and gentlemen, CII President-designate, my fellow panelists, a very good evening to all of you. Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, namaste. It's a great honor for me to be present today, and I would like to start by thanking CII for inviting me to this session and for giving me an opportunity to say a few words. I'll begin with giving you a brief progress of the economic progress which has taken, the social progress which has taken place in Bangladesh in the last 15 years, and then how we are now positioning, what are the challenges which Bangladesh is facing, and what are the challenges which I think the Global South as a whole will be facing, and also some ideas on how to face those challenges and mitigate the various problems which will come up. So to start with, Bangladesh, our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009 for the second time, and she had remained in power for 3 terms till 2024, and we had our elections, and she has now been elected for the 4th term. But in these 3 terms of 5 years each, 15 years, we have completely transformed Bangladesh. And I won't go into great detail, but I'll just quote a few statistics which will give you the idea that when Prime Minister came to power, our GDP size was $90 billion. In 15 years, we transformed that from $90 billion to $470 billion. So that was a huge growth. Our per capita income was below $500. Today it is above $2,700. But most importantly, our poverty rate when Prime Minister Hasina took over power was nearly 46%. Today it is down to 16%. And our extreme poverty is down to 0. You know, it's very, very few people are now in extreme poverty, and by the end of this year, there will be nobody who will be in extreme poverty. So I think that has been one of our big achievements, because you're talking about inclusive growth. And our strategy was to empower the private sector, to let the power sector do the growth, but at the same time, not wait for the trickle-down effect. Many countries have empowered the private sector, have got growth, but have waited for the trickle-down effect to go down and alleviate poverty. We took a two-pronged attack. We empowered the private sector, allowed them to grow the economy, but at the same time we attacked the poor sections by giving them direct assistance, skilling them, providing jobs for them, providing housing for them. For example, Prime Minister took a decision last year that nobody will be homeless or landless in Bangladesh. So the government has in fact provided a huge number of houses on government land. So every single, we have what is called the sub-district, Upazila. And in every Upazila, we were told, the members of parliament were told, the local administration was told that identify which is government-owned land. You know, there's a lot of government-owned land all over the country. And in this government-owned land, go and build houses for the people who don't have land or don't have houses. So that's how, was one way of getting inclusive growth. It was a forced this thing. But then she says, and she said that make sure that they don't get habituated on receiving freebies. So after you empower them, then you must make sure that they get to work and that they are working, and then they actually become part of society and are contributing to the economic growth of society, of the country. And that's how our whole plan was, how we have achieved that. One of the most important aspects which we have achieved is women empowerment. And we have found that women empowerment has given us great benefits. In an earlier meeting with the CEOs, I mentioned this, and I'm going to repeat it now, is that Bangladesh is a Muslim majority country. And as you know, in Islam, family planning is prohibited. So you will find that in most of Islamic countries, the population growth rate is very high. Now in Bangladesh, if a girl child was born, it was considered a liability by the family. So the thing is to do is get the girl child married off as quickly as possible. So the liability passes on to the husband. So say by 16, 17, 18 years old, you marry her off. And by the time she's 22, 23, there's 3, 4 children. So, you know, the population growth rate keeps going up. What we did was when our garment industry started to grow, we ensured that the garment industry employs women. And that had a tremendous social impact, because then that woman became the bread earner in the family. And she got empowered. And the moment she got empowered, she said, I'm going to get married when I want to. You can't force me to get married. Now she's the bread, she's got the economic empowerment to take that decision. Today in South Asia, Bangladesh has the lowest population growth rate, which I think for an Islamic country, without doing, just empowering the women did that. Educating the women and empowering the women. Inclusive growth is very, very important. We also ensured all our primary school is free, and education is free for up to primary school. And the Prime Minister in fact said that if you put your girl child to school, we incentivize the parents to put their girl child school. Today, day before yesterday, our metric SSC results came out, and for the 4th consecutive year, the girls have done better than the boys. And so, Prime Minister said day before yesterday that now we should actually start looking at why are the boys behind the girls, and we have to find out and make sure that this balance is, that doesn't take place in the future. So empowering women was something which we felt is very, of course, she set it by example. Until the last election, our Prime Minister was a woman, our leader of the opposition was a woman, our speaker today is also a woman. So that, as far as we are concerned, the men in Bangladesh, we are actually governed by women over there. So that's women empowerment, as I said, was very important. Then, of course, education and health. This was another area where we put a lot of, there's a lot more to be done, but I'm just giving you the kind of foundations which we have raised. For example, in our health sector, we have now over 35,000 community clinics. So that is in every single village, there is a community clinic, and then we have the hospital. So, and also we have the primary schools and the secondary schools, so both health and education. But I keep saying this, that we have built up a physical infrastructure is now very strong. But we need to now develop the soft skills. We have, we have to improve the quality of our teachers. We have to improve the quality of our doctors. We have to improve the quality of our nurses. And that's when I say that there's one of the areas is that how can the Global South cooperate with each other and do, and these are the areas, why I'm flagging this is that these are the areas where the Global South can actually cooperate and help each other. We can, where the physical infrastructure is not there or the structure is not there, we can show those countries this is how the structure is. Where the soft skills are very good, then the countries with soft skills can tell us that these are the way you can improve your own soft skills. So this is, I think, one area which we have done. On the private sector, on enabling the private sector, and how did this growth became possible? You see, again, I am repeating one thing which I keep saying. Bangladesh is one of the most densely populated country in the world. I tell my American friends all the time that imagine half the population of the United States, all of them if they were living in Wisconsin. That is what Bangladesh is. But in spite of that, our agriculture sector has been a tremendous success. We are the fourth largest producer of rice in the world. We are the third largest producer of fish, third largest producer of vegetable. We are now self-sufficient in poultry, eggs, milk, livestock as far as mutton is concerned. So we are getting there. So both protein, carbohydrate, we are taking care of for the food. So, but basic agriculture. Agriculture processing is what we are now starting. But I think in agro-processing is another area where there are many countries in the Global South, especially India also, who have done very well in agro-processing. And that is something, again, we can share amongst ourselves, and countries which have succeeded in agriculture but are behind in agro-processing can then cooperate with each other. So these are the kind of areas, there are many such areas, and we must think that it is the Global South should actually start cooperating this thing. This tendency of countries in the Global South to always look towards the developed country for technology, for cooperation, I think we should come away from that. Trading should start much more. Connectivity between Bangladesh and India has now really developed, both waterways, roadways, rail, and we are further developing this connectivity. I think once that happens, logistics needs to be improved. There's a huge amount of potential in logistics. Bangladesh recently, about 3 weeks ago, we announced a national logistics policy which lays out, and that policy actually I had in fact asked in my earlier session friends from India to study that policy of ours. You will get a huge opportunity for private sector to also invest in those. The other area is the digital Bangladesh. Prime Minister said that we should have digital Bangladesh, and what we did was, because the country geographically is small, we were able to lay a fiber optic backbone all the way up to our village level. And that has now resulted in during COVID, our government never closed. We went into e-government and we were doing everything virtually. And that's why we faced the COVID challenge quite well. And our growth there was also 5% plus during the COVID period. And so we have now over 700 freelancers working who are earning over $2 billion just freelancing in the... So the digital Bangladesh is there. Now Prime Minister has said that we should go for smart Bangladesh. And 4 components, that is smart society, smart citizens, smart economy, and smart government. So all of that is happening. And like I said, I've just touched on a few subjects. When we go into the question and answers, I think at that time we can exchange more views. I'll end by just saying that you talked about the digital divide in your opening remarks. And I think that is something which is, for me, I think that is the biggest challenge, the really biggest challenge which the Global South is going to face. I was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, a few weeks ago, attending the World Economic Forum meeting over there. And in one of the panel discussions, I was with Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, and Lubna Oleon, who is a very well-known Saudi financial leader. And we were discussing, and I mentioned that the way technology is now moving ahead, the speed at which it is moving, especially artificial intelligence, this is going to really increase the divide between the Global South and the Global North to a very, very wide manner. And so there in that panel discussion, something very interesting came up. One thought was that countries with a young population, where the demographic dividend is there, those countries will benefit, and that is there mostly in the Global South. In the Global North, there is the aging population. So the thought was that these countries will actually benefit as technology grows, because you need young people to harness this technology. But there was a contrary view, and I tend to agree with the contrary view. The contrary view was that it is those countries who have an aging population are the ones who will benefit much more from this technology. And the reason is that the technology is going to be going at such speed, and it is the Global North who have that technology. The artificial intelligence, they will have, it was said over there that machines will be doing all their work for them actually. So they will not need a young population. And the machines will become so developed, and it will happen so fast that you won't need young people to actually run those machines. The machines will be running themselves. That is the kind of development which is taking place. And the speed is absolutely, so this is something I think, and that technology is with the North. Let's talk about quantum computing. We know that the 2 countries in the world who are at a race on who gets the first quantum computer is is the US and China. They are both at the end of this thing. China, I don't think, is going to share that technology with anybody very soon. And if the Americans also take the same view, then the Global South is in very big problems. So I think here we have to really see where we can also jump onto this bandwagon and start developing this technology ourselves or with cooperation. But this, I think, is going to be the biggest challenge for us to face. I'll just end by giving you one example. Many of you must be knowing this, but just one example to give you the speed at which technology is moving. As you know, many of you know, ChatGPT IQ is 150. Einstein's IQ is 155. So ChatGPT is already at Einstein's IQ. Now, OpenAI announced about 3 months ago that by the end of December of this year, they will launch ChatGPT 4o, which will have 10x IQ of ChatGPT. That is 150 will be 1,500 IQ. And they said they will launch it by the end of this year. They launched this day before yesterday. So what they were supposed to do by December, they did it in May. So that's the speed with which it is going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. That was very comprehensive, insightful, and it was very interesting to learn the growth model that been successfully deployed in Bangladesh, and also I think you brought out some very interesting areas for collaboration amongst Global South. I now request Mr. Tatsuya Watanbe for his comments.
Mr. Sanjeev Puri, President Designate CII, His Excellency Mr. Salman Rahman, Excellency and ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be here back again in Delhi and participate in the CII Annual Business Conference to discuss the inclusive growth and the development in this region, role and voices of Global South. Actually, I happen to be in Bandung, Indonesia, this Tuesday. There, Indonesian Foreign Ministry and UNCTAD held a conference celebrate 60 years of history of UNCTAD working for the development. You all know that Bandung is a historical city where Indian Prime Minister Nehru and the Indonesian President Sukarno gave birth to the origin of the Global South movement back in 1955, 70 years ago. So they're going to celebrate 70 years of Asia-Africa conference next year. So today, I'm very honored to be here in Delhi, another important birthplace of the Global South movement. By the way, I'm Japanese, coming from aging and declining Global North, but I'm working for ASEAN and India, Global South, in Jakarta, Indonesia. So back to the substance, the global economic landscape is shifting despite a strong headwind and a slowing global economy. India, ASEAN, and Bangladesh are emerging as a center of global growth with remarkable achievement. G20 presidency, hosted by countries of Global South since 2022, has brought its voices to the forefront of global discussion. Indonesia in 2022 and India 2023 led strongly. And I believe Brazil this year and South Africa next year will continue to this momentum of Global South. The Global South is poised to shape the future of the world, both economically and politically. Post-pandemic growth in the Global South, particularly in India, ASEAN, and also Bangladesh, has been very impressive, driven by strong domestic demand and resilient supply chains. Projections suggested that by 2030, India could be the world's third largest economy, with ASEAN as the fourth. The transformation signifies a major shift and major shift in the global economic landscape, and the Global South countries are positioned to play an even greater role in the coming future. India, Indonesia, and Bangladesh are some of the largest democracies in the world, and their demographics offer strategic advantage. the abundant young labor force position these countries to achieve domestic growth and capitalize on global supply chain diversification efforts. That is really happening here in the region. Additionally, as His Excellency mentioned, tech-savvy population enables further technological advancement and business growth. In the meantime, significant challenges remain. Income inequality persists, and the market struggles to meet sustainable development goals. Developing Asia, India and ASEAN, must integrate sustainability agenda into growth model. Sustainability means being environmentally responsible, socially inclusive, economically profitable. It should drive growth with balancing natural, social, human, and financial capital. Another critical challenge for the Global South is energy security and the transition to the sustainable energy sources. Many countries here, especially in developing Asia, still face significant issues such as access to clean energy and financing their energy transition. Solar and wind costs have decreased, but other renewable technology remains still expensive, and the investment barrier persists. To facilitate rapid development, it is crucial to reduce trade and investment barriers for renewable energy products while building local capacities. Economic turmoil generated by COVID-19 and wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East further impacted investment in the energy sector, underscoring the need for resilient, flexible energy systems. Given the region's dynamics and optimism, I would just highlight 2 points for the future. First, number one, geopolitical tensions and multiple global risks are shifting supply chain manufacturing to this region. And really, a new manufacturing supply chain is happening here due to the tension of geopolitical tension happening in the world. Critical technology and industries, semiconductor, EV, and critical minerals are at the forefront in this shift, enhancing supply chain diversity, resilience, and reliability. Critical minerals and semiconductors are significant for the region's efforts toward the energy transition and sustainable development agenda. Solar panels, batteries, EVs, smart grid all necessitate strong supply chain of critical minerals and semiconductors. India and ASEAN, developing Asia, show promise as a future manufacturing hub with initiative like Make in India. I think Make in India is now really becoming a reality here. This momentum opportunity must be fully leveraged. Second, I would like to highlight, as His Excellency mentioned, human resource development must be strengthened. Investment flow into the region must ensure there are enough skilled talents. Clear mapping for human resource development, especially in critical technology and new industries, manufacturing, semiconductors, EV, is imperative. Connecting the supply chain from the downstream, from upstream, from raw materials such as critical minerals to packaging and testing will strengthen resilience. My institute, Area Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia International Organization, located in Jakarta, is strongly committed to supporting the Global South countries' development, particularly in ASEAN and India, to have stronger roles and voices in shaping the future of the global economy. In the field of digital economy, area recently launched a Digital Innovation and Sustainable Economy Center. I invite startups, young entrepreneurs, investors here to join us in Jakarta to connect deeper with those in South Asia, entrepreneurs and investors. Additionally, in support of the region's efforts towards zero emission, net zero emission, we will be hosting an Asia Zero Emission Center at our institute to provide a policy platform, facilitate knowledge sharing, and promote energy transition. Recognizing developing Asia's project role as an engine of global economic growth and energy demand. Energy demand is, of course, increasing with the economic development here. We are committed to promoting decarbonization towards net zero emission, while also ensuring economic growth, energy security, and energy resilience, especially through innovation. Innovation works here, and innovation needs to be here. We believe there are multiple pathways, practical pathways towards energy transition. In concluding, I should repeat, there are golden opportunities for building new manufacturing supply chain here in developing Asia. I mean, Indonesia, ASEAN, and India. Area stands ready to work with developing Asia, India, ASEAN, to its economic development and bring voices of developing Asia to the global discourse. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. That was a very, very comprehensive articulation of many sectors, wide-ranging issues, very useful. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me now move on to the question and answer session. So let me start with one question to both the esteemed panelists. We covered a wide range of issues in the initial address. Now, all the areas are very critical for growth and development. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. One area which is of, I think, very serious concern to the world at large, particularly Global South, is of course this whole issue of climate emergency. And it is not merely the issue of decarbonization, but also an issue of adaptation, because some of the countries in this region are extremely vulnerable to climate change. So there is decarbonization, there is the transition of many sectors, and there is also this whole issue of adaptation, and it also brings to the fore the whole issue of food security. So what are the challenges and opportunities to collaborate in this region to collectively solve this problem and identify, in fact, solutions ourselves, rather than, as you said, Excellency, rather than depending all the time looking at the West for these solutions?
Thank you very much. Adaptation is a very critical issue, and for the even national securities and the existing of small island countries. And of course, climate change has a huge impact on the agriculture. As you mentioned, that the food security is a very critical issue. So here we need to think about sustainable, for example, for agriculture, sustainable agriculture need to be looked at. And here, again, innovation and digital technology will work. So even we are working with ASEAN countries, how each country can adapt their agriculture and farming to adapt climate change issues. And that is a very critical issue for the food security. And how we can provide technology and innovation to adapt the farmers for the climate change impact. Thank you very much.
This is a very crucial area which you have raised, especially for Bangladesh, because if the ocean floor rises by, the temperature rises by 1 degree, 1/3 of Bangladesh will be underwater. So for us, it is a very, very serious concern. So actually, on food security, we are doing a lot of research on our agricultural research institutes, rice research institute. They are doing a lot of and developing new seeds where we can. So we've already found a seed which can grow in rice, where we can grow rice in the coastal areas. Where, because of the high level of salinity, you couldn't do that. Now we are able to do that. This is our homegrown technology. We have got another technology where we can grow rice in between 2 crops. So, short period. Things like that we are doing. But there's a limit to up to what we do. You see, if there is no global cooperation, and whatever we want to do, if there is no global cooperation, and if the people who are actually contributing to, it's not the question of decarbonization. The question is climate change is happening, and unless we go to the root of how to stop it. So we've been having this COP, I think now we are in COP 27 or COP 28, and there is a lot of commitments there, there's a lot of talk there, but actually there is no action. And that is something which is very, very, it's a dangerous thing for the planet itself. And I think here I would say that in addition to collaborating between the Global South, I think the Global South should take a united stand to ensure that further stop the greenhouse gases, and that further climate change things which are being done to accelerate climate change, that it doesn't, that the furthering of that is stopped. I think that is also very important politically. The other issue, I just wanted to make one issue which he had mentioned in his speeches. One of the areas which again is very, very important is which is very seriously affects the Global South, is the geopolitical tensions. And you see, this is, I had mentioned this in my Riyadh, that Bangladesh did everything right, in the sense that we were doing everything right and we reached a certain level. But then when the Ukraine-Russian war started, the Federal Reserve increased the interest rates. And that made the dollar very strong. The moment the dollar became very strong, it had a very, very direct effect on our taka had to devalue, the commodity prices went up, oil prices went up, energy prices went up, and we had foreign exchange reserves issues, which was nothing to do with us. The war between the Russians and the Ukrainians is nothing to do with the Global South. It's their issue. But the impact which we felt in Bangladesh was really, really, after 15 years of working so hard and coming up to a certain level, just because of something which we had nothing to do with, we got so badly impacted. So this is something, again, which I think the Global South, so it's the same thing with climate change. I think the unity among the Global South is very, very important. So the geopolitical tensions globally kind of insulates us from the impact of such actions.
Thank you. Let me now open this for if there's any question from the audience. Please. Yeah.
Anil Sabu, CMD of Electrolytes Power Private Limited, Jaipur. There is a need for the reform globally, and particularly for South Global. We discussed a number of issues, but what are the most 3 important issues which we can take up together and speedily? As you told that it's changing, the world is changing so fast. So what are the three most important issues which we can take up in Global South? Thank you.
One, of course, is, I think, food security. That is because the Global South has also got a very large population, and it's a young population. So I think I would say food security is the #1 priority. In Bangladesh, that is our #1 priority at the moment. Climate change is the second, and I think technology. How to take, I would say these are the three, if we can, food security, climate change, and technology, especially artificial intelligence and the advancing technology. You see, what is going to happen is that although the Global South will be united, I hope, but more and more we will see that each country is going to start looking out for itself. So again, in my Riyadh, I go back to my Riyadh conference, there again another issue which came out was big data. They said that now data is going to be the very big, when this artificial intelligence comes, data is going to be the most important commodity of the new technological era. And countries, especially Bangladesh, we have 170 million people. India, of course, is much bigger. But still with 170 million people, the data which we will be generating is going, now to process this data, to store this data, you need data centers. And then again, each of these data centers, you need a huge amount of electricity to run these data centers. And mind you, these data centers are going to be run not with, you cannot have renewable energy running data centers. You need dispatchable energy to run data centers. So you are talking about 3 gigawatt, 4 gigawatt requirement, as much as you need requirement to run a city. That is the kind of electricity you will need to run these data centers. India is already doing this in a big way. Bangladesh has already started. We are also doing it. But the moment you do that, there is a big contradiction there. Because then if you are then again going to, and that's what we are seeing which is happening in the global north, you are actually going out of renewable energy and back to your conventional energy. So that's going to affect your climate change. So it's a big challenge, and this is what I think we all have to put our minds to see how we can solve this problem. Three things.
Your comments?
Three things, food security certainly, and climate change certainly. And just on the data, and especially data governance and AI, division line may be drawn between the global north and the global south, but also important thing is division between the big tech companies and the society and the people. So how data and AI can be utilized for society and the people, that's the important thing. And maybe US has its own model, Europe has its own another model. But the important things from this region, ASEAN and India, come up with its own model for data governance, and how to deal with emerging technology like AI is critical. And so we need to have, from this region, our own model to showcase other parts of the world. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one last question and then maybe we'll from him, because we're running out of time, so just last question.
Hello. Sir, my question is to Sir Salman Rahman sir. Actually, in India, export-import ratio in Eastern India or others part is Bangladesh is importing high, but in Northeast, Bangladesh is exporting high. For the Northeast region in India, sir, do you have any good plan for export, import, make it flexible, more easy, sir?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And not only for the Northeast region, we want to do it for all of India. And we are, like I said, the connectivity, we are increasing our connectivity, and this has already happened. In fact, outside, one gentleman just told me that they are a very large tire manufacturer in India, and they import rubber through Chittagong port. and then through Chittagong port, they take the rubber to their factories through road and rail connectivity. So we are definitely doing that. We are opening more border posts between Northeast and Bangladesh on the northeastern side, and we are also, and then also again, as you know, we are also having more connectivity with Bhutan, Nepal, India and Bangladesh on electricity. We want to have a common grid over there. Already we are signed an agreement with Nepal to import 40 megawatts. This is the first, it's just a start, 40 megawatts of hydropower through the Indian grid, which will come to. So, you know, this integration, I think Bangladesh and India, the logistics, the electricity grids, the border posts, that needs integration. And if that were to happen, it's a win-win situation for both the countries. So definitely we have plans to do that. Thank you.
So I'll take just one last question. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. My question is to Mr. Salman Rahman. So you spoke about the impressive growth of Bangladesh and the women empowerment. What we face in Global South is we find very less women in the industry leadership. What is it the Global South should do to empower women to come to the top of industry as industry leaders?
I feel that it is us men who have to change our mindset. It's not the women are very competent. I think the problem is that us men consider women to be less competent than us. And so for them to break the glass ceiling is very, very difficult. Unless we in the Global South can change our mindset, that's when I think women will be able to come up. And that has happened for, let's say, that has totally happened in the Scandinavian countries. In the Scandinavian countries, the men and women, men don't consider women to be inferior. In fact, at times they even consider to them to be more competent themselves. So that's a mindset problem which I think needs to do. I have found in the Global South, I found in India, I found in Bangladesh, I found when I go to Thailand, when I go to Singapore, that there are young women entrepreneurs, there are young women workers who are very bright, but there is this mindset against them. There is this, and that has to be changed. And I think it's the men who have to change that. There's very little the women can do about it. We are the ones who have to take that lead. And in Bangladesh, under our Prime Minister's leadership, that is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And on this note, I think we come to an end of this session. It's been a very enlightening session, very insightful comments. So I'd like to thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Mr. Watanabe, for being here and for your very, very valuable comments today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers, for a very engaging discussion. I now request Mr. Puri to hand over a token of appreciation from CII to our esteemed speakers. His Excellency, Mr. Salman F. Rahman. Mr. Tetsuya Watanabe. Request our speakers to please stand together for a quick photo opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to a close for this session. Would request you to kindly stay seated as our next session will begin right away.